Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, back to One Fair Review. I am your host, Grant, as always. And you know what? I'm not really going to say anything witty. I'm not going to talk about anything specific. Let's just get into it. The anime that we are reviewing, or movie, is Godzilla 3, The Planet Eater. So let's just get into this story summary. So the movie takes place literally where it left off, back on City on the Edge of Battle. Toho is in shambles after the death of his friend, or lover, Yuko. And Memphis is trying to comfort him, but also seems to be bringing up this cult with all the people on the human space machine thing. And the tribe is trying to do something. In fact, actually no, the tribe doesn't really do anything. Godzilla is still dormant. There's this talk about worshipping this god, and that god will help you, from Memphis and his race of people. And the god, the twist in the end, turns out to be Ghidra. They summon Ghidra from another dimension, universe, to defeat Godzilla. And then that's the story summary for you. The cast consists of Miyano Maoru as Haro, the main character, the only person worth mentioning. If you guys don't remember Mr. Miyano, he played Tatsume back in Zombieland Saga, which was my favorite anime of last season. Getting out of the way, the real reason I did not put anybody else in the cast category is mainly because when I looked it up, I couldn't find anybody. And I didn't feel like looking because, hell, they didn't feel like making a better movie. So, yeah, I'll put in that much effort as well. If you guys haven't seen my last review on the Godzilla 2, City on the Edge of Battle, I do recommend you go watch that. I give my thoughts on the first movie as well as the second movie. And they're not positive. I have not been a fan of this trilogy so far, and I said that pretty much the third movie need to go balls deep, all out, with whatever it is, monster action, fun, entertaining characters, or even serious moments, hardcore themes. It needed to go all out with something. And I haven't seen them go all out since Shin Godzilla, which was a terrific movie. And maybe that's just par for the course, because, you know, they always have at least one terrific Godzilla movie and then like a bunch of terrible ones. So maybe that's kind of what happened here. They kind of got lazy. And the problem with this whole trilogy is that these were made specifically to make sure there wasn't a big gap between Godzilla, you know, Shin Godzilla, and the American Godzilla movie King of Monsters. That's why Toho decided to make this, essentially just because there was that gap and they didn't want people to lose interest, or at least people in Japan. In the United States, well, probably the same thing. They didn't want people to lose interest, so they came up with this trilogy, and they had some great concepts. They really did, but they just never paid off. So really, in this third movie, they really just need to go all out, you know, with monster action, because we barely got that in the last movies. Next to none. It mainly focused on the characters, which were unlikable and we didn't care about and never got development to begin with, and it was just kind of a mess. So I think the question is, does this movie succeed? Does it do things better than its previous two? Yes, it does, but not by a long shot. There are still problems. In terms of the story is still flawed. You can't really do much with it anymore. You had an interesting concept, and you have a good theme, but it's still the same theme that the first Godzilla movie had. So it's not anything that we don't already know of. So it's kind of like, there is something interesting with Haru, but other than that, not much to go on. The main characters are just bland rice. There's just nothing to them, really. Like, there's no seasoning, no sauce to make it taste better. Unfortunately, the movie is just boring, just like the second one, except it's a little bit less boring because it's got some better moments, it's got some great scenes, and thankfully there are not as many, you know, wasting of the time, and they don't just meander for a good portion. And this movie is a good 20 minutes shorter than the last one, and it does help it, but not by that much. You see, like I said in my last review, I mentioned that they really couldn't fix the story at this point. It's 2 movies in, the development's already ruined, the big moments have already passed, there's really nothing more you can do. Now, in this movie, they focus more on Haru and Memphis, their relationship and how it ends up going in the end. And honestly, it's okay. It's done okay. But the thing is, we never really got to know Memphis, because they really never talk about him. Like, he's in the second movie more than he was in the first one, but even then he's not a big part. He becomes a bigger part in this one, and I guess it helps a little bit, but there's really nothing to really root for. And by the end of this movie, you really find out there's nothing to care about with these characters. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but by the end of the movie, it's kind of just pointless. You know, why did we even watch these if this was going to be the outcome? Because nothing really is accomplished. It's not satisfying. It's not particularly interesting, and that's a big problem with a Godzilla movie when there's nothing interesting. Now, in terms of the story behind Godzilla and Ghidorah, that stuff's kind of cool. I'll admit. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting what they do with that, but it's not amazing, and it's just okay. You know, Godzilla is pretty much, he's still the same, and Ghidorah is this multi-dimensional kind of god in a way. He's just kind of from another universe, and he doesn't follow this rules. That's kind of neat. And then they get in a fight in the movie, but wow, is it really underwhelming. And in fact, I'm just going to take this time to talk about the monsters in this movie. There are a total of 3 classic Godzilla franchise monsters in this movie. Godzilla, Ghidorah, and Mothra. Now, if you guys can take a minute to try to guess how much screen time they have, I'll let you take a minute and then I'll tell you. Okay, I think that's enough time. They are barely in this movie. Absolutely barely. Ghidorah has the most screen time with about 8 minutes at most. Mothra is in this movie for seconds. Literal seconds. She's in a vision. That's it. You hear her classic, you know, but other than that, she's not in the movie essentially. You see her silhouette. And the same thing with Ghidorah. You just see, like, you never see his entire form. You just see a silhouette of his entire form in flashbacks. But most of the time, he's just kind of this weird energy. And it's not a bad design. None of the designs for these monsters are bad. Well, Mothra, I wouldn't even know. We just saw a silhouette of her. But for the most part, you don't really get any monster action in a monster movie where they could have a lot. They could have something or something more substantial. I'm just really disappointed that they really didn't go all out with this one. There are some great scenes, don't get me wrong. There are some really good scenes, and even the theme is a lot better. I do like the story a lot more. The characters are more tolerable and a lot more interesting. But that being said, it's still not good. It still didn't reach that level of, hey, this is an enjoyable film to watch. I'm going to watch it again. Now, there are great things in this movie, which I will discuss in presentation. Okay, now that we've moved on to presentation, let's start off with the animation. 3D animation, you guys know my feelings on it. It's fine now. I've been able to tolerate it. The first movie, did not like it. Second movie, it was a little bit better. The third movie was a lot better. There's some stunningly animated scenes and some great shots, great cinematography. But that doesn't mean that it's all good. There are some animated segments that are lazy and sloppily done and just look horrendous. And there are other moments that look amazing. So there's a weird contrast there between the two, where some look great and others look bad. So that did bug me, but most of the bad moments happened at the very end, so that's fine. So, you know, they got some good style choices. The animation looks good. There's some great lighting. I could definitely say that the lighting was terrific. Other than that, nothing really praiseworthy about animation. It's okay. Some beautiful, beautiful shots. I will say that right now. There are some gorgeous shots in here. But the animation overall was not impressive. Okay, but let's move on to music. I have to say, I was impressed. I really was. I did not particularly care for the music in the first movie. Second movie had some pretty good music. Here the music was jaw-droppingly awesome at times. It was absolutely beautiful at times. I love the music in this movie. It had some really great tracks. Sometimes there are some tracks that don't fit in at the right moment, but that happened I think once, so I'm not going to fault it for that. But the music was really good in this movie. I really liked it, and that's really the best thing I took out of this movie, the music. I really enjoyed. But now that we've come to the end, what were my thoughts overall on the film? I have to say I'm disappointed. I'm still disappointed. I can't believe I'm disappointed. This is the third time that they have come out with a movie, and you guys, if you haven't seen my review on the last one, go check it out. But my thoughts on the second movie were still, I was unimpressed, and I said they need to do something better. Go all out with this one. They didn't go all out. They did some things better. It is the best movie in this trilogy, but that's not saying much. It is the best, but it's definitely not amazing. It's definitely not something that should be celebrated as one of the greatest Godzilla films. And it's really a shame. This had a lot of potential, but it just kind of kills it at the end. It's just like, eh. You don't care about the characters. None of them really get enough development, except for Toho, which is the best character in the movie. None of the action scenes are particularly impressive. The characters are bland as rice. The story is a good concept, but not well executed. The music's great, and there are some greatly animated scenes, but overall the animation was dull at best. My final verdict for Godzilla 3, The Planet Eater, is a disappointing 6 out of 10. It's passable. It's a decent film. It's well made, but Toho Animation really just didn't do a great job. The acting was fine, you know, a lot of it, they had some good elements to it. This had potential to be something great, but they just didn't take that potential, and it's just not that good. If people enjoy this, I mean, I could see some reasons as to why, but personally, the themes and the best parts about this movie I've seen in other movies already done better, so it's not particularly special to me. And that's why I've given it a 6 out of 10. I would have given it a 5, but there were good moments and good scenes, and it's not a horribly made movie. Well, anyways, thank you guys for watching. This was my first movie review, technically, of the year, even though it's an anime film. If you guys have seen Godzilla, The Planet Eater, tell me down in the comments what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you not care to watch it? Are you never going to watch it? Did you not even hear about it? I want to hear your guys' thoughts. And tell me what you guys think about this video. If it sucks, if it's the worst, tell me down below, and I will gladly delete your comment. I'm kidding, I never do that. Anyways, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Grant for One For Review, and I'll see you next time. As always, have a nice day.